This is where we have to look for the future. It is expensive, the paybacks are still long, but if we can bundle this with all the other measures, we can still come back with reasonable paybacks. We can use solar heating, solar power through this PV system, and solar walls where we heat up the air coming up through the building and into our makeup air system. And other renewables, wind power, etc. Lighting is, of course, a huge opportunity, and everybody realizes this, and it's one of the first things that happens. Energy efficient lighting for exit signs, energy efficient high intensity lighting, compact fluorescence. Great strides are being made with all of this equipment, with all of this lighting. It's much brighter than the old lighting, so when we replace, we've got to be careful that we don't overlight, that we don't have overlit sections. We want to have the proper lighting so we can reduce the amount of lamps, not only just reduce the wattage on the lamps. I've put up a short example, and I'm not going to spend too much time in here, but you can have a look at this example. It's a real example of a building that we audited a few years ago, and then did the design and the implementation. It's a condominium. You can see here that the baseline, they're using about almost $600,000 a year at this condominium. The savings, $152,000, which was implemented and has actually been verified, for a capital cost of $422,000 after incentives, including NOCAN's incentive close to $100,000. Payback is about 3 years, and the surprising thing is that was a 3-4-year-old building. So when we start with 3 years old, we finish the audit. So 4-year-old condominium building that we can save, what's this, 26% of the energy, right? So we're doing something wrong. And I think this steps all the way back to the developer. Why should he be allowed to put in atmospheric boilers? So we took out the atmospheric boilers. We didn't want to throw them all away. You know, again, we're conscious of the environment, so we just replaced the lead boilers. Replaced the lead heating boilers, the lead domestic hot water boilers. Domestic hot water is what you use in your faucets, your showers, your kitchen. Put in systems like carbon monoxide, variable frequency drives, upgraded the building automation system, and there we go. So this is your back to your baseline costs, your savings, and your capital costs. Now this is a really good payback. We look for generally around 5 years to be a good payback. So the incentive programs from the federal government, we've got Natural Resources Canada, their Eco Energy, where they'll give $10 a gigajoule. There's Eco Energy for renewable power, for renewable heat, and the Ontario OSTI for renewable heat as well. City of Toronto has a great program, $400 a kilowatt, 7 cents a kilowatt hour. Enbridge will pay for up to 50% of energy audits, and they'll also give funding towards energy retrofits. And of course, water conservation, City of Toronto has programs for toilets. I'm not sure if the washing machines is continuing. You get free shower heads and aerators from Enbridge as well. So what we want to make sure is once we do this, again, coming back, monitoring, making sure that each year you're monitoring what those savings are so they don't slip away. But more than that, monitoring on each month so that you can see if something is happening. So what are the issues in doing this? Well, the issues, A, is financing, is being able to finance this using partly your reserve fund and partly going to companies that do finance. And there are companies that specialize in condominiums and in apartment buildings. Incentives, the approval process is extremely long for some of these incentives, which delays the project. And again, speeding up that process is one of the things we need to look at. Instead of cherry picking, and I'll come back to this example here, so instead of taking, here we've got 39-year, well, let's go simple payback, 12-year simple payback, and almost a 10-year simple payback, we can wrap all of these up and get a 2.8 year payback. So we've got to look at this holistically. We've got to look at this, putting in solar power, putting in wind power, putting in whatever we can, renewables, so that we're looking at this all together and not at just individual items. And installing all the technology in new buildings, you know, it's just one of my pet peeves. Why should we have to go in and replace 2-, 3-year-old boilers, right? This should be done at the beginning, and it should be mandated and legislated. The incentive limits for eco-energy, there's for larger buildings, it's a problem over, you know, if it's over 20,000 square meters, or I think 200, that's roughly 200,000 square feet. It's limited to $50,000 per building, so if you have a massive building, you're limited to just that $50,000. And you have to be 5 years old for that building that we did wouldn't have qualified. Right? And then funding should be made available for making residents aware of energy efficiency and for making staff, giving them training on energy efficiency and how to do that. So we've got to wrap all of our implementation into the 3 aspects, which is to change technology, putting in new boilers, change behavior of how our residents and how the staff operate, and organizational change as to the way we deal with energy, the way we view energy, and it's not just paying a bill, but it's actually monitoring and moving forward in new places. So, I don't know if you want questions later.
We'll have it later.
Okay.
Amazing, isn't it? Wow, I was busy writing down all those notes, and those of you that can't write down all the notes, fear not, because this session is webcast. It will be loaded onto our website. Big thank you to Justin Station, which is at the back over here, webcasting. So if you can't catch every word, that's okay. You can catch it on later. I forgot to introduce myself. Actually, I'm Olivia Chow, local member of Parliament.